have to spend part of my life in the forest. Therefore, my dear husband, I know that it is my destiny to accompany you. To be with you is heaven, and to live without you is hell. Therefore, you must take me with you. Rama remained reluctant to allow Sita to accompany him into exile. Sita felt as though she were falling into a great abyss of calamity. Thus, she became almost mad, fearing separation from her husband. Unable to tolerate Rama's stubbornness any longer, Sita began to chastise him. My father made a big mistake in choosing you for son in law. How can you think of deserting your wife who married you before puberty? Are you going to leave her unprotected and exposed to the stares of others? The citizens of Ayodhya are fools for declaring Rama is as splendid as sun. His glories are without equal. I refuse to remain her alone while you go off to the forest. Either you take me with you or I will take poison and die. Crying bitterly, her heart tormented with grief, Sita was on the verge of fainting. Seeing her pitiful condition was more than Rama could bear. His heart softened and he took his chaste wife Sita in his arms. Rama then assured her that she could indeed accompany him. Dear Sita, remain began. I only tried to dissuade you because I did not understand the true situation of your mind. Oh Sita, I could no more abandon you than a wise man could give up his sense of compassion. How could I ever rest peacefully knowing that you were unhappy? Go then and give away in charity all your valuables, clothes, jewels, and whatever you possess to the Brahmanas. As Sita joyfully departed, Lakshmana, who was standing nearby, came forward and caught hold of Rama's lotus feet. With tear filled eyes, Lakshmana pleaded, O Rama, please allow me also to accompany you into the forest. Hoping to discourage Lakshmana, Ram replied, My dear brother, you must remain here at Ayodhya to serve our two mothers, Kausalya and Sumitra. Without your protection, they will surely be mistreated by Kekai. To this, Lakshmana replied, Surely our brother Bharata will take care of everything. There is no need of anxious for our mothers. O Rama, as you traverse the forest, I shall walk in front with my bow in hand, allowing you and the daughter of the king of Veda, Sita, to enjoy the scenic delights. I will also gather fruits and roots as you sleep and stand nearby to guard you. At last, Rama agreed. He then instructed Lakshmana, You may certainly come, but first take leave of your mother. Afterward, bring the two mighty bows given by Varuna to Maharaj Janaka, the impenetrable armor, two inexhaustible quivers, and a pair of powerful swords. After paying your respects to Vasishtha, return here with the weapons and we shall depart. Having fulfilled Rama's order, Lakshmana returned. Rama then asked him to summon the foremost of Brahmanas so he could distribute all his possessions in charity. Soon thereafter, Suyagya, the son of Vasishtha, and the sons of Agastya and Vishwamitra arrived at the royal palace. After duly welcoming them, Rama instructed his dependents to look after their palaces in their absence. Rama then ordered his treasurer to bring forth all his wealth. Thereafter, a huge hill of gold and jewels was stacked high, along with other valuables such as clothing, chariots, and animals. In this way, Rama began to distribute his possessions. It happened that a Brahmana named Trijata resided in the forest near Ayodhya. Because of his extreme poverty, the Brahmana was very weak and frail. His wife pleaded with him to go to Ayodhya to ask some charity from Rama. Thereafter, the Brahmana set out and happened to arrive just when Rama was distributing his wealth. When the Brahmana approached him and described his impoverished conditions, Rama jokingly replied, "Take your staff and throw it as far as you can. As many cows as that sticks passes over, I shall give you." Trijat tightened his belt and then excitedly threw his staff into the air. To everyone's surprise, his staff soared all the way across the Saryu and landed amongst a herd of thousands of cows that were grazing from the river's edge up to the point where his stick had landed. Rama then embraced the Brahmana, saying, "Please don't be offended by my jest. I merely wish to see your exhibition of Brahmanical prose." After that, Rama gave away everything in his possession. He made sure that no Brahmana, relative, dependent, or beggar failed to receive charity on that day. Ram, Sita, and Lakshmana then proceeded on foot through the streets of Ayodhya toward the palace of Maharaj Dasratha. The citizen observing Rama traveling about fashion, in this fashion, some from their seven-story mansions and others in crowds on the street, all became greatly pained. They cried, "Oh, how unfortunate that even uncommon people are now able to see Sita, who formerly never appeared in public. We shall take our families to accompany Rama, so that Ayodhya will become like an unin- uninhabited forest, and the forest will become like a populous city." As Rama entered Kekkai's quarter, he saw Sumantra and asked the charioteer to announce his presence to king. Upon hearing of Rama's arrival, Maharaj Dasratha ordered Sumantra to assemble his consorts so he could meet with his sons in their presence. Shortly thereafter, 350 young maid servants came and surrounded Kausalya. Then, when Rama, accompanied by Sita and Lakshmana, entered his father's room, King Dasratha ran to embrace him. Overwhelmed by grief, the king fell unconscious before reaching his beloved son. At that, Rama rushed forward, picking up his father in his arms, while all around the people cried in anguish. After being brought to his couch, Dasratha regained consciousness. Rama then said, "My dear father, I have come to bid you farewell. Please give me permission to depart for the forest with Sita and Lakshmana." Maharaj Dasratha urged, "Rama, please accept my advice. Take me captive at once and then occupy the royal throne by force. No one can stop you." Ram replied, "Dear father, I have no desire to achieve sovereignty over the earth or royal opulence." Maharaj Dasratha then said, "You may live with my blessings, but please stay here for just one day so I may have the opportunity to see you." However, Rama replied, "I must leave immediately. It is my duty to fulfill your promise and do as Kekai has ordered me. I must leave for the forest at once." Maharaj Dasarath then embraced Rama, and afterward he again fell unconscious. Sumantra, who was weeping profusely, also fell to the floor. Everyone except Kekai cried aloud with grief. Sumantra had been the most intimate associate of royal family. Thus he more than all others suffered because of the calamity before them. Suddenly Sumantra approached Kekai and began chastising her harshly, saying, "O wicked woman, by sending away Rama, you will become the murderer of your own husband. Your selfish demands violate the religious principle that a kingdom be handed over to the old eldest son. Indeed, you shall reap the bitter fruits of your evil deeds. For when Rama goes away, all the Brahmanas will allow him. Thus, your kingdom will become devoid of all auspiciousness. I will tell you something once for your benefit. Once upon a time, your father Kekkaya received a benediction from a rishi that enabled him to understand all languages, even those of the animals. However, in giving the boon, the rishi made one condition. If Kekkaya ever disclosed the meaning of any speech that he heard from an animal, he would die.
Later, the king once happened to hear the shrill cry of a bird. Because he understood its meaning, he began to laugh heartily. However, the queen, your mother, imagined that the king was laughing at her. Therefore, she demanded to know what he found to be so amusing. The king then informed his queen of Rishi's benediction, warning her that he would die if he disclosed what the bird had said. The foolish queen was so stubborn and jealous, however, that she replied, "You can live or die. I do not care. I only insist that you tell me why you are laughing." The mortified king then went to the rishi who had given him the benediction. Explaining his predicament, the rishi advised that he not disclose the bird's speech, and that he should rebuke the queen for her impudence. Taking the rishi's word seriously, Maharaj Kekai gathered his courage and chastised his wife severely. After that, he lived happily thereafter. In the same way, Kaikeyi, you are acting impudently towards your husband. Admit your fault and give up your wicked plan. Kaikeyi, however, remained unmoved. Thus, considering Rama's exile to be inevitable, Maharaj Dasharath ordered Sumantra, make ready one akshoni of soldiers and organize many merchants, hunters, and the royal treasurers so that they may accompany Ram into exile. Though he may reside in the forest, my beloved son does not have to go without the objects of comfort and enjoyment. Hearing this, Kaikai was seized with fear. Bharat will not accept the kingdom if you strip it of all its resources before his installation. Growing progressively weaker, Dasharath said, if you will not let Ram go to the forest in comfort, then I shall take all the citizens with me myself and accompany him. Kekai snapped. In our dynasty, there is the example of how King Sagar exiled his eldest son Asamanjasa. Therefore, you should cast off Rama in the same way. Hearing this, the elder minister Siddhartha retorted, Asamanjas used to take delight in drowning other children in the river Saryu. When the citizens complained of this to the King Sagar, he rejected his cruel son. How is your comparison valid? Where is the fault of Ram? Ram interjected, my dear father, please do not be upset. I have no use for the royal comforts you desire for me. Let Kaikeyi maid servants bring me tree bark at once so that I can wear suitable clothing for my forest life. Hearing this his request, the shameless Kekai personally went and brought clothes made from tree bark and asked Ram to put it on. Without hesitation, Ram and Lakshman obediently took off their royal garments and put on clothes presented by Kekai. Sita, however, felt very unhappy when she accepted her dress made from kusha grass and tree bark, and her eyes filled with tears. When she tried to put the dress on, it kept slipping, for she was not at all accustomed to the such clothing. Rama then took the dress of tree bark and draped it over Sita's silk sari. This was unbearable to Vasishtha. With tears in his eyes, he restrained Ram and chastised Kekai with strong words. You wretched woman, don't you see that everyone is prepared to follow Ram? Indeed, you will find that even Bharat and Shatrughna will follow him, leaving you alone to rule an empty kingdom. At least allow Sita to go into the forest with a comfortable dress and be carried on some conveyance. Sita, however, was determined to follow her husband's example and kept the forest cloth on. Seeing Sita dressed in this way, the palace residents began to condemn Dasharath with strong words. Hearing their talk, the king lost all interest in continuing his life. Nearly 1 hour passed as Maharaj Dasharath remained delirious, incoherently mumbling words of reproach to himself. Later, when the king became a little more composed, he ordered Sumantra to bring a chariot to carry Ram to the forest. At this time, Kaushalya embraced Sita and gave her the following womanly advice. It is well known that during times of misfortune, women will desert even righteous and loving husbands. Such wicked women forget all past favors and nothing can bind them. Because of ingratitude, such selfish women cannot be controlled by wisdom, gifts, or even marriage. However, there are also women who are gentle, truthful, and obedient by nature. Thus, they honor their husband above all. O Sita, please do not despise my son on accounts of his exile. Let him always remain your worshipable Lord in all circumstances. Sita accepted her words with folded hands and replied, I know well my duty towards my husband. Please do not speak to me about faithless women. My attachment to Ram is like that of moonlight to the moon. There is no veena without strings or chariot without wheels. Similarly, there is no future for a wife without a husband. Even though she may possess 1,000 sons, Ram is my Lord and he shall always be so. How could I despise him? Kaushalya began weeping, thinking of the impending separation from her son. Trying to comfort her, Ram assured her that the time would pass quickly. Then he took leave of his stepmothers as they wept loudly. Ram then went and clasped the feet of his father. Circumambulating the king with Sita and Lakshman, Ram bowed low before his mother and father. Then, without further delay, Ram, Sita, and Lakshman mounted the chariot and departed for the forest. Thus, Lord Ramchandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well-wishers, residence, and everything else. Just as liberated soul gives up his life and went to the forest with Sita and Lakshmana. Maharaj Dashrath kept his gaze fixed upon the dust raised by the chariot as it gradually disappeared over the horizon. Finally, after losing sight of Ram, departing chariot, the king fainted and fell to the ground. When Kaushalya and Kekai ran to lift him up, Dashrath forbade the younger queen, saying, Do not touch me. I have disowned you. I no longer want to see you. Kaushalya lifted her husband, and while bringing him back, saw all the stores and shops were closed, and a gloom pervaded citizens. After entering his palace, the king asked to be taken to Kaushalya's apartment. From now on, the king declared in a faltering voice, I will stay here only. Maharaj Dashrath passed the night with great difficulty. He felt that losing Ram was like dissolution of the universe. Seeing the king and Kaushalya in such a miserable state, Sumitra tried to pacify them. Please do not lament for your son, for Sita and Lakshman are with him. Ram will not experience the least difficulty. Indeed, Ram is not an ordinary human being, but the God of gods himself, the illuminator of the sun and the controller of eternal time. While Ram resides in the forest, the earth herself and all natural phenomena will engage in his devotional service. Have faith that you will one day see the return of your beloved son. Your lamenting serves no purpose. Already the citizens of Ayodhya have practically stopped all activity out of grief. You must pacify the subjects and not let them fall prey to anguish. Meanwhile, some of the citizens had followed Ram's chariot to the forest, begging him to turn back. Ram told them, I cannot break my vow. I desire that you repose in Bharat the same love you have for me. As they travelled, Ram saw how some of the elderly Brahmanas were having difficulty keeping up with the chariot. Hearing their anxious pleas, Ram felt great compassion and descended from the chariot. Then, along with Sita and Lakshman, he proceeded on foot, allowing the Brahmanas to catch up with him. Still, Ram would not turn his face backwards, for he was determined to keep his vow perfectly. Thus, as the Brahmanas constantly besieged Ram to turn back, they reached the banks of the river Tamasa. As the sun slipped over the horizon, Sumantra and Lakshmana selected a site to rest for the evening. Then, after smoothing the ground, they made a bed of leaves for Rama. When he lay down with Sita, Rama quickly fell asleep. Nearby, Lakshmana stayed awake all night, discussing the glories of his elder brother with Sumantra. Early the next morning, when Ram awoke, he saw that some citizens of Ayodhya were sleeping nearby. Just see how much the citizens love us, Lakshman. Rama said, they will not give up their determination to follow me, trying to bring me back to Ayodhya. They have completely forgotten their homes and families. They should not be burdened by Kekai's curse as we are. Let us go before they awake. Devising a plan, he told Lakshmana, let Sumantra drive the chariot in such a way that citizens will become confused and unable to follow us any further. After crossing the river Tamas, Ram instructed Sumantra to drive the chariot on a clearly visible path while taking evasive measures that would mislead the citizens and then return. Sumantra then drove off, and when he returned to some time later, Ram, Lakshmana, and Sita mounted the chariot and proceeded quickly down another path into the forest. When the citizens awoke, they looked in all directions for their beloved Lord. Searching desperately here and there, they found the tracks of the chariot wheels. But after some distance, the track suddenly stopped. Unable to determine which way to go, the people gazed into the distance and wept. With Ram gone, the people reproached themselves, saying, how can we return to Ayodhya without Rama? What will the women and children say when we fail to bring him back? What is the use of living here without the beautiful moon-like face of Rama? What is the use of husband or children or even life itself? What good are household pleasures without the daughter of King Janak and the lotus-eyed Ram? With no alternative, the citizens returned to Ayodhya feeling extremely depressed. When the household women saw that men had returned without Ram, they reproached them with cruel, harsh words. Many simply sat down and wept. Due to shock, some of them were incapable of speaking or hearing. Everyone in Ayodhya began condemning Kekai, swearing they would never live under her rule. Thus, life in Ayodhya came almost to a standstill, appearing like a great ocean whose water had dried up. The Brahmanas neglected their duties and mercantile people gave up conducting business. Householders no longer took the time to prepare meals, and domestic animals let the grass drop out of their mouths as though stunned. The cow would not give milk to their calves, and mother no longer felt happiness in greeting their sons. Even the stars in the sky assumed a stern aspect. Feeling tormented with grief, no one in Ayodhya could eat or engage themselves in entertainment. Indeed, everyone appeared to be almost lifeless. Being absorbed in feeling of separation from Ram, as Ram proceeded through various territories, villages and forests, he heard the people condemning Dashrath and Kekai for exiling him. Finally, after crossing the Ved, Shruti and Gomati rivers, Ram arrived at the river Syandika, which marked the southern boundary of Koshala province. Ram stepped down from the chariot and with folded hand faced Ayodhya to take leave of his birthplace. Many local inhabitants had followed Ram, and when he asked them to return home, they carried loudly, unable to depart. Thus, Ram drove swiftly away, hoping to minimize their anguish. When they reached Ganga, Ram asked Sumantra to stop the chariot under a large tree on the bank. The king of this territory was named Guha, a Nishad by birth and a close friend of Rama's. When Guha heard of Rama's arrival, he jubilantly came to meet him along with his ministers and relatives. Although born in a Nishad family and belonging to a lower caste, King Guha had all the qualities of a great devotee. He was peaceful, self-controlled, humble, tolerant, and charitable. In truth, he was superior to a Brahmana because he was fully surrendered devotee of the Lord. It is a great mistake to think that a man's caste is determined by his birth. That is not the Vedic conclusion. Rather, caste is determined by quality. Seeing Guha approached, Ram and Lakshman came forward and greeted him. And the Nishad king embraced Ram with great affection. Feeling distressed at seeing the two brothers dressed in forest clothing, Guha said, my dear Ram, my kingdom is as much yours as mine. Therefore, please make use of everything as you are in Ayodhya. I am honored to have you as my guest. Guha brought sumptuous food, comfortable beds, and articles of worship to treat Ram to a royal reception. Ram was pleased to see this and embraced Guha, saying, at heart, I accept all that you have offered me. However, since I have taken a vow to wear only kusha grass, tree bark, and deer skin, and eat only fruits and roots, I cannot utilize these gifts. Therefore, please take away what you have brought, except for the food which I can use to feed my horses. For they are the favorite steeds of Maharaj Dasharath. At that, Guha gave sumptuous feast to the horses. Ram only took a little water, for he was fasting that day in honor of the Ganga. That night, Sita and Ram slept beneath the tree while Lakshman and Guha guarded them. Although Guha requested Lakshman also to take rest, he refused to do so while Ram and Sita were sleeping. The next morning, Ram decided to cross the Ganga. Hearing his decision, Guha ordered his men to bring forth a beautiful boat to carry them across. When the boat arrived, Ram told Sumantra, "Please return now to Ayodhya and serve Maharaj Dasharath, trying to remain composed so that you will be in a position to pacify the others. You have been of great help to us, but from now on we shall proceed by walking." Sumantra pleaded with Ram for permission to accompany him to the forest. Ram, however, insisted, "Please go and attend my poor father. Do not be aggrieved, for we shall certainly return in 14 years. Assure my parents of my well-being and urge the king to install Bharat without delay. Please also request Bharat on my behalf to treat all of his mothers equally." Unable to bear the thought of leaving Ram, Sumantra argued, "When I return to Ayodhya alone on this chariot, the people will become hundreds of times more unhappy. O Ram, please allow me to accompany you. If you leave me aside, my life will become unbearable. I will surely enter the fire or drown myself." Ram then replied, "I am sending you back to Ayodhya so that Kekai will be convinced that I have entered the forest. If you do not return with this chariot, then some fear will always remain in her mind that I might come back at any moment." Turning to Guha, Ram said, "I do not want to live in this forest surrounded by friends and servants. I shall go to an uninhabited place and live like a rishi. Therefore, please bring me the milk-like extract of a banyan tree so that I can mat my hair." When Guha brought the substance, Ram and Lakshman used it to make their hair matted, and thus they looked like forest-dwelling ascetics. Then, while bidding farewell to Guha, Sita, Ram, and Lakshman boarded the boat and departed. When the boat reached midstream, Sita offered prayers to Mother Ganga, asking for their safe return to Ayodhya. Then, after the three disembarked onto the far shore, they continued their journey. Ram then instructed Lakshman to carefully protect Sita by walking in front. Thus, Lakshman walked ahead. Sita stayed in the middle and Ram followed from behind. When night fell, they took shelter of a large tree. Both Ram and Lakshman stayed awake all night to protect Sita. That night, as they talked, Ram again urged Lakshman to return to Ayodhya to protect their mothers from Kekai's persecution. Indeed, Ram became emotionally charged while thinking of his poor mother, and his face became covered with tears. While comforting him, Lakshman was able to convince him that he could not live in his absence, and at last Ram permitted him to stay. The next morning, Ram, Sita, and Lakshman set out again. After walking some distance, they reached confluence of the Ganga and Yamuna rivers. Desiring to meet the great Rishi Bharadwaj who lived there, Ram approached his ashram and waited outside for permission to enter. Soon a disciple of the Rishi came to greet Ram and escorted him inside. Ram 6:35 Maharaj. Ram saw Bharadwaj sitting in meditation, surrounded by many disciples. Ram introduced himself and then related the events surrounding his coming to the forest. Thereafter, Bharadwaj offered Ram, Sita, and Lakshman a nice reception and served them many varieties of foods prepared from roots and fruits. The Rishi then offered them comfortable accommodation, saying, "O Ram, I have been expecting your arrival since hearing of your exile. I wish you could spend the 14 years here peacefully in my ashram. With my students at your disposal, you would not be inconvenienced." Smilingly, Ram replied, "O best of rishis, your offer is very kind. However, were I to reside here, I fear many people would come to see me since your ashram is so close to Ayodhya. Therefore, please tell me of an isolated spot where I can stay to fulfill my vow of forest life. Bharadwaj then suggested, you can go to the Chitrakoot mountain some 60 miles from here, and after crossing the river Yamuna, you look for a giant banyan tree named Shyam. Then you will know you are proceeding in the right direction. The entire Chitrakoot area is beautifully situated with cascading waterfalls and meandering streams. The cries of peacock and cuckoos will enchant your ears, and everywhere there is plenty of fruit and honey, like the heavenly Gandhamadana hill. It is most suitable place for a leading a life perfectly in the mode of goodness. After spending the night at Bharadwaj ashram, Ram, Sita and Lakshman took leave of the rishi and departed. Later in the day, at the banks of Yamuna, Ram and Lakshman prepared a large raft for crossing the river. Upon reaching midstream, Sita offered prayers to Kalindi. Reaching the far shore, they soon came to a banyan tree named Shyam. Sita offered respectful obeisances to the sacred tree and prayed for their safe return to Ayodhya. Then, after waiting for some time, Ram, Sita and Lakshman passed the night on the bank of the Yamuna. The next morning, they resumed their journey. While walking through the forest, Sita questioned Ram about all the varieties of plants and trees they encountered along the way. As Lakshman walked in front, bow in hand, Ram took great pleasure in describing the wonders of nature surrounding them. In this way, Ram, Sita and Lakshman finally approached the vicinity of Chitrakoot hill, where they were pleased to find an abundance of fruit, root, sweet water and honey. When they came to the ashram of Valmiki, Ram, Sita and Lakshman were happily received by the illustrious Rishi. Being invited to reside there, Ram ordered Lakshman to bring some logs and construct a small cottage. Thus, within a short time, Lakshman had built a nice residence with walls of wooden stakes and a thatched roof. At Rama's request, Lakshman performed the customary sacrifices to the demigods for consecrating their new dwelling. When Ram entered the new cottage, he became happy, leaving aside the grief brought about his exile. Meanwhile, after the departure of Ram, Gua had dispatched spies to observe Ram unnoticed. When they spent news that Ram had reached Chitrakoot, Sumantra mounted his chariot to begin his painful journey back to Ayodhya. Meanwhile, after the departure of Ram, after 2 days, Sumantra arrived in Ayodhya in the evening and saw that the city had become nearly desolate. Everyone was deeply grieving due to the separation from Ram. Then, as word spread of Sumantra's return, thousands of citizens came forward into the street and crowded around him, hoping to hear some news of their beloved prince. They anxiously waited for Sumantra to speak. In reply to their anxious inquiries, Sumantra replied, the lotus-eyed Ram has sent me back after reaching the banks of the Ganga, not allowing me to escort him further. Ram now journeys by foot through forest with Sita and Lakshman. Realizing the Lord was not returning, some of the citizens fainted and others wept. Because we cannot see Lord Ram, we are condemned, they said. Alas, we have lost him. But we can never forget how he used to glance at us affectionately and speak lovingly. When will we ever see him again? The people were grief-stricken as they recalled how Ram used to tend to their welfare, just as a father looks after his children. Sumantra then entered the royal palace to see the afflicted Dashrath and relay the Lord's message to him. Hearing Sumantra speak of Ram, the king immediately fainted from feelings of separation. Trying to assist the king, Kaushalya also swooned and likewise had to be helped. Before Sumantra could speak, the queen said, why are you now lamenting? It was you who so unkindly banished your son to the forest. You value truth more than your own son, in whom all truth resides. Arise, O king, lest your followers begin to doubt the wisdom of your actions. If you continue to lament, your subjects will perish in the fire of separation from Lord Ram. Lashed by the sharp words of Kaushalya, the king came to his senses. King Dashrath then said, O Sumantra, please fully describe whatever Ram had said while departing. Where is he living? What is he eating? For all these years he has been accustomed to luxury. How has delicate Sita been able to live in the forest atmosphere? Surely her frail body cannot bear the scratch of a thorn or the scorching heat of the sun. How is my beloved son Lakshman? What are his austerities? What is he eating? Have they sent me any message? Oh Sumantra, I can only survive on the strength of your reply. Sumantra knew that Maharaj Dashrath's life could only be sustained by hearing about Ram. Thus he began to speak as follows. At the time of our parting, Ram instructed me to return to Ayodhya to render service unto you and Bharat. Ram only concern is for your welfare, and thus he wants to ensure that your promise to Kekai is fulfilled. He also requested that I inform his mother Kaushalya that he is faring well. In addition, Kaushalya, your son has requested that you remain constantly devoted to righteousness and worship your husband's lotus feet as you would those of a deity. Moreover, he has asked that you shun the pride born of position and seniority and treat Queen Kekai as your superior. Likewise, my king, he requests you to install Bharat as their heir apparent to the throne without delay. Even though young in years, he is still a king and deserves to be honored. Ram also asked me to relay a message to Bharat, begging that he should look upon Kaushalya and Sumitra as he does his own mother. Moreover, O Emperor, I must inform you that poor Sita just stands motionless, oblivious to everything and sighing. She has never experienced adversity before, and she did not impart any message as I was about to leave. However, she looked a chariot and suddenly burst into tears. After offering obeisances, I left, but my horses wandered, for they were always blind with tears.
Okay, stop. Okay.
Yes, Maharaj, by your blessings, everything is fine.
You the moment here?
Maharaj is he went to Nagpur along with a brahmachari for an inauguration of a hospital. And I'm here for my Bhakti Raghav studies. So we will be returning from Nagpur tonight. It's kind of like a 15-hour journey coming back. No, Maharaj, he'll be going that side. He left around 7 o'clock. He'll be back by 8 o'clock. Just seeking your blessings all the time, Maharaj. Couldn't see you since Mayapur, since Mayapur. Just waiting and waiting to see you.
Come now. We're all waiting. Every minute, everybody comes out. Everybody falls. And we get old, we get
You are Divya Maharaj. Thank you, you are Divya. We have heard that you want your disciples to be there where services is given. So we only come here when our Bhakti Vaibhav is there. But if you allow Maharaj, we can come to your Bhagavatam lectures. Even if it is.
my whole point is, you know, it is right.
We hope that by your blessings, move to Sharing temples, sharing people, helping people.
I know it's about
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Vijay.
अरे विजय
Chalk pass में था chalk pass है Shaling pass है
हरे कृष्णा बॉस को छोड़ के कहाँ अकेले घूम रहे हो?
भक्ति बाबा तो 5 दिन मेरे को इधर रहने को बोल रहा है। उस टाइम कोई और रहता है साथ में। मुझे नागपुर में चापधर संग्राम जित कर
इसको जी
नहीं नहीं बजी मंदिर में थे
ऊपर से आ रहे
क्यों बजी
ऐसे ही
मतलब हाँ जी बजी
ऊपर से ऐसे
मतलब ऐसे तो नहीं मतलब ऐसे नहीं है तो करते करते चक्कर लगा लेंगे नहीं चले पोछा लेके आओ एक
जी हाँ मारना ना पुश मार दूँ मारो आप मारोगे पुश
हाँ यहाँ पे शारदावा नललिढलोका विनायकारुण्यगणानन्तं तप्तसकल्याणा गुणानवस्य वन्दे गुरुश्रीचरणरविन्दं
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. नर हरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंह जय नरसिंह जय 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 श्री नरसिंह कुलादेश जय पद्मा मुख पद्मभिदम् ओम गंभीरं महाविष्णु सर्वतोमुखं नरसिंहं विष्णुं भद्रं मृत्युर्मृत्युं नमाम्यहम् गंभीरं महाविष्णुं जलल्पं सर्वतोमुखं नरसिंहं विष्णुं भद्रं मृत्युर्मृत्युं नमाम्यहम् ओम गंभीरं महाविष्णुं जलल्पं सर्वतोमुखं नरसिंहं विष्णुं भद्रं मृत्युर्मृत्युं नमाम्यहम् नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा तबो अभिलाषी जे तुम्हारा चरण लाय सर्वांसा पूर्ण कृपा करी परतारे वृंदावनवासी मुरई अभिलाष विलास नयने सदा युगल रूपराशि निवेदन धरो सचिरनुगत करो शिवाय जी लीजिए आरती जय गिरिराज गोवर्धन बलराम जगन्नाथ श्री गोविंदाय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह भगवान लक्ष्मी देव
सखी के अनुगत रहूं।
पास से दर्शन कीजिए प्रभुपाद जी जय गिरिराज गोवर्धन महाराज की जय।